I'm Leslie Short, owner of the Cavu Group and host of Visibility Unlimited. If you are watching, then you are watching Visibility Spotlight Unlimited, our video portion of the podcast Visibility Unlimited. I am looking forward to the conversation we are going to have today. I know nothing about birth and babies. I've never had any, never had a desire, but all I know that is we have a serious health equity issue in this country. And I am pleased to have with me two guests today that work in the field of birthing and taking care of mothers, partners, just all of it. And they are both doulas. Now, you may say, what is that? And we'll get into that in a second. So I welcome Renee, the owner of Tribe of Mind,
Thank you.
and Latoya, the owner of Doula View, and the birth, what is it? The birth impact as well. So, ladies, before we jump in and say what is a doula and what is the health equity that we have going on, um, I need to know what all these initials are behind your names because I don't have any of them, and clearly I would not. But Renee, start with yours, and then Latoya jump in. And this is a conversation among friends, so feel free.
Okay. Well, thanks for having me, Leslie. I appreciate it. And I appreciate speaking about this incredibly important topic. So, CD DONA stands for one of my certifications as a doula. It means that I am a certified professional doula. CBC stands for Certified Breastfeeding Consultant. And I've been a birth worker for 13 plus years.
Wow, I remember when you started, but that's another part of the conversation. I really do. Latoya, and your your initials.
Well, that was amazing though. I've actually been a doula for 13 years myself. But TBIDT is the Birth Impact Doula Trainer. So there is a certification program that I have to where I train doulas to do what I do, which is a birth doula and postpartum. LCCE is Lamaze Certified Childbirth Educator. So it is also a passion of mine to provide evidence-based research to my clients so that they can best navigate their birth.
Okay, ladies. Big question. What the devil is a doula? What do you do? Why is it important? Who are you? What exactly do you do? What is this?
You want to go, Renee?
No, go ahead, Latoya.
Well, how I explain it is it's a birth servant. Everything that includes serving a mom, a woman in labor. Per, you hire a realtor to find you the best house in the best area with the best school district. For a
Yes.
birth in your health, you need someone in the industry to find a provider that aligns with your birth philosophy that helps support your wishes for birth, because at the end of the day your provider is the most important decision you'll make for your birth. So having someone not only to support you throughout the process and walk with you, they can also help you navigate the birth arena. So that's some of the things that a birth doula helps to bring to her clients.
Yeah. And
Renee.
to add to that, doulas are not new to the birth scene. We have always existed since the beginning. It is someone who is experienced in childbirth and who wants to support the mother or the birthing person. And if we look historically back at childbirth art, you will always see three people, maybe four, in that birth art setting. It is the laboring mom, it is potentially the midwife, it is the doula, or maybe even two. And so we are not new. We have been on the scene before the OBGYN. And if you're stepping into birth work, it is because you have been profoundly impacted or that you see yourself that there is a real sincere issue that needs to be addressed. And so I always like to share that with prospective clients because sometimes male partners don't understand. They think, well, what's the point? I'm here. Is someone going to replace me? And that's never the case. The doula is meant to wrap her arms around the entire family for a safe,
Mm.
satisfying experience.
I love that you say that. It's about the entire family. Of course, it's about the woman and what the experience that she's having, but birthing should be an experience for everyone.
Oh, yes.
Um, And I noticed I caught you, Latoya, said you need somebody in the industry. In
Yes.
other words, with all these initials behind. But more than anything, I would think it's not called the midwife, right? I think that's what some people may associate it with. But also, it's like, yes, you hire a realtor to find your school, you're this, you're in the area, but this has got to be personal. There's
Very.
got to be that understanding, not only what you want your birth to be, because people can understand what you want and
Mhm.
still not connect with you.
Oh yeah.
So, what is the best way that you all connect with your clients? Because there's such, and I'm going to let you answer. I am so like, there's so much I want to say, and I want so much I want to hear from you because you're hearing so much about, I want my birth order to look like me. I want this one to look like this. And I'm like, are we, and we're getting to why we may want someone to look like us and that advocate, but I would think you want an advocate for you.
At the end of the day, there's many layers to this now. Yes, on the surface, I know, especially in the Black and Brown community, they would prefer at times someone that looks just like them, and I totally get that, and that is wonderful. We need representation. It's a safe space, right? There is another layer of chemistry.
Mm-hmm.
How I feel when you walk in the room and you talk to me. Do you see me as a person? Are you comfortable serving me? Doulas have to be comfortable with their clients too.
Yeah.
This is a very sacred space. It can be very intense and it's intimate. So if I am not comfortable in a casual conversation in your home, how am I going to make an impact, or how am I going to impact your birth? Because there's going to be an impact made either way.
Right.
So knowing that you, one, have someone that you're comfortable with on many different levels, and there are so many different types of doulas, there's someone out there for everyone. Nobody fits the same mold, and that's what's so beautiful about, you know what I mean? So finding that person that fits your box, that makes you feel comfortable, that you can rely on and relate to, will definitely add a positive spin to your birth experience. And it's such an intense and special and sacred moment that no matter who is there, no matter what experience you have, it sears on you. So being intentional about who you have, check the boxes.
Right. So, Renee,
Yeah.
what do you add to that? Or, like, I've looked on both of your sites.
Yeah.
You both are serving families.
Yeah.
I don't want to say I don't see color because we all know that ain't the truth. But I see that there is a mixture of families you're serving. So, how culturally do we cross the barrier of saying, I'm here to serve you? I'm here for your advocate, as your advocate.
That's a great question. Um, ultimately, it is the family's decision who they want to align with, who they may feel safe, seen, and heard in their intimate setting with. And as a white woman, I am very aware that there are racial disparities within maternal care, that there is systemic racism within maternal care. I am not shy to have that dialogue during an initial consultation with a family. If they're reaching out to me, they obviously know that I am a white woman. My goal is to serve them to the fullest extent on their terms. And I have had some women of color hire me because they feel I might be more listened to in the birth setting space, unfortunately, but I'm happy to be used in that way because I am not blind to that reality.
Right.
And it's ultimately up to every single person. And it's up to a doula to extend her education and her awareness to these different modalities, these different cultural awarenesses. Birth is universal.
Yes, that it is.
Just like food is universal, and that we appreciate that diversity so much. And we don't say, okay, you can only eat this food because this is where you might come from, or you can only do this because it's where you come from. When we create more unnecessary barriers that way, we traumatize
Ooh.
and
She is
Go
rolling
ahead.
right all in my yard right now. I'm trying to hold it back. Go ahead, honey.
We traumatize what we're trying to work through.
Right.
We have to recognize first and foremost that there is an issue, but
Mhm.
we're only going to be progressive if we are united. That is important. And there are so many broken, fragmented pieces from the beginning.
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. And I think it is trauma on, if we speak about black and brown, we would just go into the doctor's period. This
Mhm.
is history within that
Yes.
about bad birthings for years. But women in general, I want to say, of being listened to, of being heard and being seen, showing up at the doctors, all cultures, all colors. The
Yes.
Mhm.
added layers, we keep saying there's so many added layers to all of this. And so whenever we have this conversation, I always say it's about expanding beyond your current culture. As a doula, as the expert, as someone to serve, you have to know
Mhm.
more than you.
If I
Yes.
could piggyback off of Renee, because she lit a fire, unnecessary boundaries.
Okay.
Now, my passion right now, especially, is negative birth culture as a whole.
What does
Not
that mean?
just so negative practices, negative attitudes, negative thought processes, and preconceived notions and stereotypes, and just because. So negative birth code, things that put a negative spin or negative negativity on a positive event, something that's supposed to be the most beautiful in most cases. Yes, powerful and hard, challenging, but the most beautiful moment. Anything that puts a negative energy, a negative spin on that, um, for no reason, no intentional, is part of negative birth culture, and that's something that is also taught, and just like
Bias. It is the bias. It is the bias for which we walk in a room and now add on having birth
mm-hmm,
and either, okay, as women, squat and go,
mm-hmm,
or push and go,
mm-hmm.
and then add on cultural,
Yes.
what the perceptions of what you should do or where you should be. If we have Serena Williams coming back out and writing an article that I had to advocate for myself in the room,
Mm-hmm.
where half the people in the room probably asked her for an autograph,
Yeah.
Right.
but yet did not listen.
Mm. Yeah, see, y'all about to take me to church. Okay, so Leslie, this is a spin to that I've found in the last decade. When we are under the guise of bias and we're looking at it and we're trying to combat that, unfortunately, especially as a Black community, we look to that Black doctor as almost a safe haven without even knowing him, without even knowing her. So when I say negative birth culture, unfortunately, I'm not just talking about the white doctor. I'm talking about the culture and the training of the hospital. I'm
Yes,
talking about
yes,
the
yes.
mindset that even that historic Black doctor, and I'm talking in Atlanta with very much experience,
Right.
that everyone is looking to, is one of the main ones abusing and not seeing that
Mhm.
inner city mother, that single mother, that one that, oh my goodness, how does she afford a doula mother?
Mm.
This is
Ooh,
her
see,
second,
ooh, yes,
third baby with the third baby daddy now, making, she's on Medicaid type. It's sometimes that historic Black doctor. So we really have to kind of piggyback also on the question that you asked, Renee. It's a love language. How do
Mhm.
you pick your doula? How do you even find out about that doula? I may have someone in New Jersey that has those same ideals. Like, I want someone to look like me. This is the mentality that I have. But I'm like, I get it, but in the industry you're in, it's kind of slim pickings. And my girl Renee is off the chain.
Well, I will tell you this. I know for a fact, not again birthing no babies, but
Mm-hmm.
I know Renee for years.
Mm-hmm.
And if I need to have somebody in my corner, which I have, I know I pick Renee.
Mm-hmm.
Hands down in the conversation, I know she's going through.
Mm-hmm.
With her hair going. I know for the doula, she got it all wrapped up because I seen the picture. But I know she's coming in, and if she has knowledge, she's going to challenge whoever is trying to challenge me not to do whatever I need to get done.
But
And
Leslie,
I
even
would think
better, she's giving.
anyone would want that in birthing situation.
Mhm.
I don't care about a color. I care about your knowledge. And then let's talk about the process and procedures, as you said, of the hospital. I
Mhm.
need someone that knows how to maneuver. How do you
Definitely.
maneuver in a system that's, I never say it's broken. It wasn't, I don't know sometimes what the healthcare system was actually meant to do for people.
It is broken.
But how you've got to choose someone that has those connections within the hospital, not only with the doctors, I would assume, but the anesthesiologists and nurses. And so, how do you all, both of you, just navigate that?
So first and foremost, I just want to circle back and say, like, I came to Latoya because I found her on Instagram and her content is phenomenal. And I always love to know other phenomenal progressive birth workers. And that's how we know each other. We are
Mhm.
states apart, but we talk from time to time. We talk shop, we support each other, and my respect and admiration fully in her direction as well. Um, to answer that question, you have to take an interest in continuing your education and understanding the law of the land.
Mm,
You
mm.
have to know what hospital policy is, and you have to know what your rights are, no matter what color you are. Because women typically are
Right.
not listened to.
Mhm.
We're typically taught to be quiet,
Agree.
or this is a figment of your
Be
imagination.
a good girl.
Be a good girl and go along with what we know, what the doctor
Right.
or the hospital feels is best. But the reality is hospital policy is not written by scientists, people who are doing the medical studies. It is written by administrators, lawyers, people who have the best interest in that policy,
Mhm.
right?
For the
And
hospital.
so once upon a time, this was a statistic and it may have very well changed, but 70% of a hospital's revenue came from people who were popping out babies.
Mm.
That's a lot of money to be had. And so if you fall in line with how I'm telling you to proceed with your body and your baby, then I get to decide the outcome. And if we go back even a little bit further, right? It's starting from the beginning, it's starting from the textbooks. What are the textbooks saying?
Mhm.
Who wrote those textbooks?
What do
That's
they look like?
that's where the black doctor or brown doctor is learning, right?
Yeah.
And maybe they are perpetuating that. And then there are some that break free and say, nope, I'm a hard left here.
Right.
To your point earlier, Latoya. And so it starts from the beginning. So the textbooks need to be rewritten. The education,
One more time.
Say that again. Say that again, Renee. Say it again.
One more time on that.
the textbooks need to be rewritten. That's how it starts. And we need more midwives because they understand that birth is a normal physiological event of life, if you so choose.
Right.
It is not something that needs to be managed. It is
Mhm.
not something that needs to be managed. And if you look statistically, when we do start to manage and medicalize this very natural experience, your cesarean rate increases, your trauma increases, your postpartum trauma increases. And so this is a business.
Mhm.
When I look and the Aftershock documentary. Now, anyone that has not seen it, I advise you to just take the time. Now, it's about black and brown women and the care for which they feel that they receive um, during this process and standing up for themselves. And I think any woman just having a baby would benefit watching this doc and just understanding that you can advocate, that you can speak up, that you should, if you can, have someone by your side that can maneuver this. But yes, it goes back to where does things start? It's always the peel of the onion. The who's teaching? What do the teachers look like? What are the teachers saying? What do the books look like? What do the pictures look like? You know, what are the experiences they're sharing with you? I wonder now if anyone sitting and going, I'm going to keep going back to Serena Williams because we've all keep in it. But Serena, there's so many others that
Mhm.
did not get the birth experience that they thought they were going to receive. Now what?
Leslie, honestly, have any of us inherited an empowering, informed birth story from our ancestors in the last couple generations? Or have we inherited, girl, you're trying to get have a natural birth? You're crazy. Wait till you feel that contraction. Or why would you do that? You know what I mean? A home birth, do we even know anyone who does?
No.
So you got to think, before it was medicalized, the past couple hundred years, very recent if you think about it.
Mm.
Before it was medicalized, where were women when other women gave birth? When babies were being born at home, you had teenagers helping out. This one is getting the hot water. This one's helping the babies. That one's cooking the food. This one is helping the woman in labor. We rallied around each other, and
Right.
it was a way of life. So these young girls grew up without even having to second guess their ability. It's what we were made and created to do. You can't tell me what I can and cannot do.
Shoulder. Yeah, the one without children. I'm like, oh, shoulders. But yes, yes, yes.
So, and and that's where my passion point is. Right now, we can look back on history, and unfortunately, we live in a society that doesn't want to teach accurate history. So we
Mm.
are bound to repeat it, doomed to repeat it if we don't step out the box and educate and stop allowing people to dictate what we are, what we should look like, what we should think, who we, how we should talk, all the things. I like to tell my clients, and if I can share with your viewers, just a little tool. We as doulas and childbirth educators like to tell our clients to use their brain. Okay. BRAIN. Use your brain. If you don't know how to navigate a doctor's appointment, but you need evidence of why they're trying to do what they're suggesting to you, B, what are the benefits of what you're telling me? Why are you suggesting this? Is there evidence behind that? I need to see a chart, a lab work, a write up, or something. Why are you trying to induce me just because I'm 39 weeks and I'll be 40 the day before the 4th of July? That's my birthday. Third induction baby, 80s. Yeah.
I was like, because they're going on holiday, but so
Seriously,
No.
barbecue to get to. You got to think about it, but that's a whole nother topic. But what are the risks? Because they're going to tell you the benefits. We don't want this to happen. We want to keep you safe. But what are the risks? What am I going to have to go home with and live with after you get paid?
Mm.
What
Yeah.
are the alternatives? I'm not really comfortable and convinced with the benefits. The risk got me, you got a whole medical degree. I really have confidence you can give me another option.
Yes.
What are my alternatives? And if that doesn't, I get all of that, the pros, the cons, I got the meat of it, I got some evidence, then I follow my intuition. What does my gut tell me?
Mm.
Is this something that I feel safe making a decision about? Do I feel like I'm informed enough to make this decision? And at the end of the day, this is the most empowering one. And if all of that, after everything that you're convinced to do or you're told to do, if you still think the answer is no, you will do nothing. In is nothing. What does that look like? Okay, doc, provider, whoever, family member that's talking to me and trying to give me some advice.
Yeah.
What if I do nothing? What's the plan then? So if I don't come into this induction,
Right.
what are we going to do then? Am I going to come back next week? And are we going to do some tests? I might be open to do that, to make sure everything is still okay. But I don't want to be induced. I just don't feel like there's a reason. What's the difference from last week to this week? That now we're talking about risk. Now I need to hurry up and have this baby. So use your brain, and that will help you navigate those doctor's appointment, navigate that information thrown at you that you can't really, digest off, so that should be a little helpful.
So it's like everything we speak about. Educate yourself.
Yes.
Be aware. It's a blissful time, but don't be blissfully ignorant in the
Ignorant.
process.
Right.
You know. So I want to turn it a little bit because I know Renee, and I think you do as well. You do breastfeeding after the fact. So now the baby's here. You've had hopefully the birth you wanted to have.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're breastfeeding. Now all these things are great, but now it's time to go back to the office. I want to shift that a little bit. Okay. 17% of the women will leave their job in 5 years after having a child. Okay. 1 in 4 go back to work in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The mentality for which they have just gone through, even if they had the perfect, I don't know if there's a perfect birth, but you had the perfect what you imagined.
Mm-hmm.
I can only imagine for those women that did not have the birth that they thought they were going to have for whatever reason. And now most don't go back in 2 weeks, right? But there is that 1% still in America, I believe, that go back after 2 weeks because of work. The mentality of women and what they go through birthing to come back into an office and be ready to go.
Mm.
I'm sure I'm not saying I'm sure, but do you hear the stories as you're still working with the mothers after the fact?
From personal experience, I was in the corporate world right before I had my first child, and I was adamant about going back. I had been interning as soon as I was capable. I was working really hard. I was actually in a job that I liked, and I was kept saying, "I'm going back. I'm going back." And then when it came time for me to actually hand over, I don't know, 10-week-old to a daycare from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. Financially, it didn't make sense. My whole paycheck was going to somebody else to watch my child.
Mm-hmm.
The system does not, it keeps going back to the system. The system is not set up to value maternal care,
I
right?
like the way you said that.
Yeah,
It is
that's
not,
true.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And we are the wealthiest industrialized country, and we have the worst outcomes. We do not value women in this arena. And I do believe because we have grown so much into an advanced, you
Mhm.
know, advanced on the world scene,
Right.
we're told, yes, go to college. Yes, do this. Yes, do that. And perfect, perfect. And for some, there is this innate desire to maybe have a child. And the two don't always coexist. So you have a lot of moms
Mhm.
who leave their job and they become entrepreneurs. They
Yes.
shift. They're profoundly impacted by that life transition and they do something different. More and more, we're starting to see little glimmers of change. So when I talk with my birth clients prenatally
Mhm.
about how things will look postpartum, I
Right.
at least want to have that dialogue, right? I'm not a postpartum
Mm-hmm.
doula, but I'm a mom and I have experience and I know what that looks like.
Mhm.
How are you set up? What does that actually look like?
Yes.
Parents are getting more time. But if you've had a cesarean or you have been traumatized, it is not enough.
Right.
It is
Right.
not enough. And so that has to change. And I wanted to mention this. Um, Marshall Plan for Moms is an organization that helps support women after giving birth and transitioning and giving them what they need to transition either professionally or postpartum wise. There are smaller and smaller glimmers of those resources popping up that people should take advantage of. And I think the modern woman is looking for companies that are saying, oh, yes, we will give you
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
6 months of unpaid maternity leave, right? Or we do offer this or offer that. And that's your power. You need to speak up and say,
100%.
this has to change.
I mean, when I go and I'm working with people and I'm working with the handbooks and it says maternity leave, which now I'm like, paternity leave. How about this? Or how about family? Because family leave is different.
Yeah.
But, birthing leave, whatever that birth may look like, whether it's a surrogate, whatever, there has
Mm.
to be a time period
Yes.
for which. And then for some, they're also saying you can tack on extra this or you can tack on extra this. And I'm like, that's great, but where are we as a country that we stop tacking on and it is a given that it is going to be 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
And then how do we come back in? Now, we're also a society that everyone's like, you got to be, well, we don't have to show up anymore, right? But you have to show up or you have to do this and you have to do that. And the pressure
Yes.
to be that person
Yes.
is leading. There was a photo today on LinkedIn, and it was a woman in the back of a car, and the baby you could see in the window. And she goes, "If one more person tell me this is not being an executive or entrepreneurship, you need to understand the new definition."
Yeah. It's the truth. It is the truth. And I think that that's where our power is as women, is saying, no, this is what I want, and I will not stand for this. That's where the change is going to come.
Mm-hmm.
And it has changed. The whole world has changed.
And you need to negotiate it when you come in for a job, I believe.
Yes.
Most women are still kind of scared to speak about getting pregnant because that, for some companies, takes you off the fast track, whatever that is.
Yes.
Mhm.
But you need to say, what is your policy towards this? What does it look like?
Yes.
The same way you ask for your vacation time.
Yes.
What is, if I decide 1 year or 2 years or in 6 months, what does that look like for me,
Yes.
Mhm.
for my family?
You know, you have to realize, and this is one of the things, and it's because we've been conditioned and programmed to not speak up. You are the most powerful. You are the most powerful. And they know it.
Mhm.
They know it. So, one of the things that I find I have to do is massage that fact with them prenatally.
Mhm.
You are the most powerful. Do not be afraid of your power. Power it can be scary, and how
Mhm.
you wield that,
Mhm.
but it is yours, and you don't have to settle.
And can you imagine a woman who's practiced that during her birth journey, during her pregnancy journey? Can you
Yes.
imagine a woman? I've had clients who at 40 weeks may have had some underlying health, slight underlying health issues, and they are being forced or coerced into a C-section and induction and everything. And to the point to where doctors are saying, we'll drop you. If you don't get induced at 41 weeks, we'll drop you as a client. What are you going to do then? So they'll call me up and I'm like, okay, let's sit back and let's evaluate this. What are you going to do then? So let's say, what if he drops you as a client? What are you going to do when you go into labor? Well, I'm going to go to a hospital. Which hospital are you going to go to? The one that I wanted to go to. Oh, okay. Well, then what are you going to do when you go to that hospital? Well, I'm going to go to labor and delivery. And what's going to happen when we go to labor and delivery? Who's on call is going to deliver my baby? Well, it looks like your plan didn't change.
Right.
So
Mm.
sit back, and it's reality check. And when you realize my options are still my options, you're bound by your policies, not I.
Yes.
So when you have that moment, you carry it into early parenting.
Yes.
Wait a minute, I'm going to use my brain for that vaccination I'm questioning, or the doctor's philosophy on this, or the lack there. I'm going to question it.
Yes.
It's okay to question. Give me information. I have options. So I love that. I love that aspect. And second time moms who've had that experience, there's no talking. It's like, no, this is the way it's going to be. And if we have to deviate away from that, then we're going to talk.
And how would that power when they come back into the office to have a voice, to think differently, to see things differently, to
Well,
shift? We
that's
don't
my
look at
story.
right. That's your story.
That's my story. With
Mm.
my first, I was in corporate America, and there were no nursing stations. I was literally having to pump at my desk under my shirt, like, oh my goodness, how am I? And there were policies. You can only have a break for 15 minutes. Well, 15 minutes is not even long enough for me to get the pump out and get going good,
Right.
And are there laws that
Yes,
protect women? And
there
come
are.
to find out, there's been a law since 2008.
There
And I'm
are.
like, but what's going on? So
Because
opening
if
up.
no one in the office, and sorry to cut you off, and once you finish, knows that and advocates for that, make sure it's in the handbook in writing. It is written there.
Yes.
And I let women know it is there, and you need to have a private room, not the bathroom, to do that. And that does not count towards your breaks.
Yes.
I break that down for them because that is the equity as part of you showing up.
Mm-hmm.
as who you are in your workplace. Now go ahead. Sorry, that's my
I'm
that's
saying
my
that's
style.
that's exactly what happens when a woman who is empowered knows to one how to research, get the evidence,
Mhm.
and use it as the foundation and stand her ground. I'm telling you, places change their tune when they see a law written that they have to abide by that they weren't paying attention to up until this moment.
Right.
Because I wasn't the first pregnant and postpartum mom that worked for you. So what happened was we got that room and we got recliners and it was cozy and we had a refrigerator in there and things
Right.
changed. That's what happens. And honestly, Leslie, I live in Georgia. And I don't know if you know anything about the maternal mortality rate in this wonderful state of Georgia. It's astronomical, it's disgusting. We are so behind the times. Our midwives here are threatened, especially home birth midwives. They're threatened. If they go to birth, if they serve at a birth, then they risk jail time.
Mhm.
We don't need to lose options here in Georgia. Every state almost surrounding Georgia has licensed their CPM midwives.
Mhm.
And we are sitting here fighting against women who actually help to improve the maternal mortality rate, improve the quality of care women are getting. There are rural areas everywhere, an hour to an hour and a half to get to a hospital. Why are you taking that away? So I'm at the Capitol building looking at the president of the OBGYN Association that won't even listen to the mothers in the room. They just want to say that CPMs are incompetent and they can't take money out of our pockets and they leave.
And I like how you said the money out of pocket. It was nothing about the humanity for which anyone is walking into this situation. I don't care if you are in a rural area or if you are in a high rise.
Yes.
If you are about to give birth to another human being,
Mm-hmm.
there is a responsibility in the healthcare, I believe, system that you are taken care of,
Mm-hmm.
that you are not dismissed. But that's always whether you're giving birth or not, but especially at this time.
Yes.
What do they say? You're closest to death, marriage, buying a house, and giving a baby and having a baby.
Mm-hmm. And I'm gonna tell you now, when you have women of color who are prestigious, elite CDC doctors, highest, I mean, real estate agent, top Atlanta people that are still coming to hire a doula because they know that the advocacy is important. They know that it doesn't matter the accolades that they have when they go into a certain arena, and it's sad. And I'm not the first person to throw it out there, but when you see it, it's undeniable and it needs to change.
Yeah.
I'm going to end on that, but Renee, I want because it needs to change. Renee, some last thoughts.
Um, I think that we, as as human beings, we must do better by each other, right? We need to understand each other better, be vulnerable, fail forward, do our research, build teams, build bridges, not burn them,
Mm-hmm.
and continue education, proper education, rewrite some of the education, and keep reminding mothers and families over and over and over again that they are powerful. The power lies with them. They know it. And put yourself where you are going to have the best outcome possible.
I love that. So my wrap up is for those that are looking for a doula, there are amazing, amazing doulas out there.
There
I
are.
had the pleasure to have Renee and Latoya with me today. Different perspectives, things that they've seen, same goal, same passion
Definitely.
to take care for women to have the equity and the power for which we wish you to have, whether you're in a boardroom, classroom, or birthing room. You
Yes.
have a voice and the power and the equity for which we all continue to fight for. It is okay to want someone that looks like you, sounds like you, and walks like you, as long as they are educated beyond you for a system for which none of us know unless we work in it every day. I can't say thank you both enough for shedding light on what is happening at this moment and the importance of looking towards a doula in your, not only for the woman but for the entire family.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Thank you for having me,
Thank
Leslie.
you. But before we go, where can people find both of you?
Sweet.
Well, on Facebook, I am the Lamaze Doula, and I also have a page, The Birth Impact. Instagram, it's DoulaView LLC and The Birth Impact. And my website is doulaviewllc.com and thebirthimpact.com.
Wonderful. Renee?
Tribe of Mine.
That tribe of mine is everything, right?
Tribe of Mine. You can find me there on Facebook and Instagram.
Wonderful.
Wow.
Ladies, thank you. Keep doing the work you're doing. We need more women like you, the strength of women like you, and we just need more talent and educated um, women out there doing it. I'm I'm
Thank
excited
you
to
for
have
what you
spoken to
do.
both of you.
Thank you for helping us share that information.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Take care.
You take care.
Everyone, if you're looking for the Cavu Group, you know you can find that on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, like Renee. It's just the Cavu Group. I look forward to seeing you all on the next episode of Visibility Spotlight Unlimited and Visibility Unlimited. Thank you.